Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show premiered to a lot of excitement and over 10 million viewers, but in the weeks since, excitement has waned as it's been met with some mixed reviews and viewers jumping ship. Ben, do you feel the show has lived up to the hype?
You know, even though I'm a fan of the show and I enjoy watching it, I don't think it has. And I think part of the problem is that people were putting too much pressure on it. You know, they had no idea what it was going to be, but they were thinking like, oh, this is going to be so awesome. It's Marvel's first TV show in the cinematic universe. Yes, that's a great idea. Yes, Joss Whedon is behind it. And, you know, those are two awesome things that could lead to it being incredible. But, you know, I think they were putting too much pressure on it. So when a lot of people say that it's, you know, falling flat, I think it's just because they were expecting too much.
Tom, the series was exciting for a lot of people because it's actually within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How do you feel about the way that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has sort of incorporated the cinematic universe?
A lot of people seem to have a problem with how much it's tied. Coulson does a lot of name dropping to the Avengers, and the Battle of New York is referenced almost every episode. Obviously, they kind of have to because Coulson, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't seen Avengers, but he's died and come back somehow, and even that still isn't clear, even though they kind of described it in the first episode, but there's still kind of hidden meanings. So it's tied very heavily, and especially in the first episode, they had Colby Smulders,
Maria Hill.
Who plays Maria Hill in the Avengers movie. She was in the pilot episode. Nick Fury and Samuel L. Jackson actually makes an appearance at the end of the second episode. Since then, they haven't had any other guest stars, like, you know, Robert Downey Jr. hasn't popped in for a chat. But I think, personally, I think that it's absolutely fine. I think it's exactly what the show needs to be right now, but I think eventually its ties are going to have to get looser and looser, and it's going to have to become its own entity. What I'm really enjoying, though, is all of the new characters it's introducing that are from the comics. Episode 3, we see the introduction of a villain who's from the comic books. So I think right now the ties are good, but it does need to break away and become its own entity and still kind of build upon the cinematic universe as a whole.
Right, so Vegas, being that the show didn't exactly take off the way everybody wanted it to, what's the reason to stick with it, or is it even worth still watching?
I think it really depends on the type of fan of the show you are. If you're the type of fan who just really loves Marvel and loves digging into those nooks and crannies and loves the name dropping, you'll really be still engaged in the show, especially with the fourth and fifth episode, which I really think cater to those fans. But I feel like if you're just watching the show and you're just trying something new and picking it up, you really have no reason to stick with it other than the fact that maybe if you like a character or something. But the characters really don't jump out for me. None of them really have defining personality traits that I can really make callbacks to and say, wow, that person's really interesting or engaging, or wow, that plot line, I really want to see how that's resolved. Like, outside of that, I'm curious what happened to Coulson. I'm curious about Sky's motivations, but outside of that, there really isn't anything keeping me tied to the show outside of its connection to the Marvel Universe. Like, I love seeing the villain in the fourth episode. I enjoy seeing little callbacks here, and even in the second episode, I think the best part of that entire episode was when Samuel L. Jackson came in and shouted at Coulson for 2 minutes. And, you know, on the one hand, it's really nice that those things are there, but on the other hand, it's kind of disappointing that the best parts of the episode, for me at least, are when it directly says, hey, look, we're a Marvel show, and not like, hey, look, we have grounded character development, great narrative plot lines, and interesting and engaging stories.
The first one, the premiere hit, a reviewer said that it still, for them, still worked as a show, even if you took all of that away, like the Marvel. And I honestly don't think it does. I think it relies too heavily on that, and obviously that could be part of a giant plan to, you know, reel in a bunch of viewers and then build upon, you know, grounding characters and really fleshing them out. But I have faith, and I'm going to stick with it.
Right. I mean, like, one of their biggest storylines is, you know, taken directly from Iron Man 3. Mm-hmm. Like, that is a reoccurring thing, which I kind of like, the storyline going on there, especially with the fifth episode when things, like, come to a head. Okay. But, you know, I think you're right in saying that it doesn't really work without all of that. But you know, when a lot of people are saying like, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna drop it. It's not even that good. I think it started to get better. You know, even though there was one episode in between that I didn't really like, but Vegas really liked.
That was your impression of somebody who.
Exactly, that's my impression of somebody who doesn't like the show. Good. Also, I have a stuffy nose.
Yeah, I can tell.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's coming up, you know. The show is in very capable hands. And I think that the Whedons can mold it into something that'll be for more than just Marvel fans eventually. You know, people just need to let it breathe a little bit.
And I think one quick important thing to note as well is I forget what the kind of official word is, but there was some kind of like 60 episode deal that Marvel's looking to do for a bunch of new TV series, like mini-series and like one-off like TV specials and stuff. And they're obviously looking, they're not looking at ABC to do it. They're looking at like things like Netflix, you know, and things have proved to be very fruitful on the Netflix original series. So I'm wondering if the fact that it's network television, because it does feel like network television too. So I'm wondering if that also has a factor in how it's feeling.
I feel like because you mentioned earlier the whole strategy of it's a Marvel show, we're going to reel fans in with that, and then we're going to keep them there with an actual television show about, you know, real characters. But I feel like that strategy wouldn't work as well for something like Netflix, because you can pretty much get people jumping in immediately knowing what they're going to get into, and you don't need to kind of trick people into becoming engaged into the show. You can just be like, hey, this is our product, this is what we're presenting, and like it, take it or leave it, it's on Netflix. So
Right.
I think introducing it in a format like that allows a lot more creative freedom and really takes it away from sort of that network television that I think is bogging the show down at the moment.
All right, well, that does it for this Pretentious Film Majors television discussion. For more from the Pretentious Film Majors, be sure to click to subscribe above me. Go to our official website, pretentiousfilmmajors.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/pretentiousfilmmajors. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/PFM show, or just keep watching.